Well, I wake up in the morning, put my boots on like everybody does, grab my hat as I hit the door. But there's something different, there's something more. I've got bullets in my pocket and a rifle in my hand. As I roll outside the wire, I know it might be my last stand. All the thoughts inside my head are mine and mine alone. The mission that's before me and the ones I leave at home. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow, may death fear me. And when I run into the fire, Lord, may your hand lead and guide me. 'Cause I've got bullets in my pocket and a rifle in my hand. As I roll outside the wire, I know it might be my last stand. All the thoughts inside my head are mine and mine alone. The mission that's before me and the ones I leave at home. If I fall, carry me home, shed a tear, but no, I'm not alone. For those who fought and fell before me will be waiting to welcome me home. 'Cause I got bullets in my pocket and a rifle in my hand. As I roll outside the wire, I know it might be my last stand. All the thoughts inside my head are mine and mine alone. The mission that's before me and the ones I leave at home. The ones I leave at home.
Happy Monday night, folks. That was Jonathan Wells' Bullets. That's his original song that he wrote. He's with the Stop 22 Tour Romans Warrior Foundation. It's Monday night. We're going live here. We got an awesome show. Jimmy Straw's co-hosting with us as usual. And we've got the man, the myth, the legend himself, Mr. Marty Hughes. It's going to be joining us here. He's coming back to the show again. We're going to talk all kinds of stuff with Marty, man. We're going to talk about last year. We're going to talk about the Expo coming up, talk about this next season, get his opinion on stuff. And of course, we're going to talk some Neko Rigs as well. So stick with us here, folks. Let's go ahead and get this thing fired up. What's happening, folks? Welcome to the TPO Doc Talk podcast. If you are out in the Heroes Media Group land, how are you all doing? Jimmy Straws, what's happening, dog?
Much, not much. Another Monday night. You ready?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Big time, man. We got the man himself waiting in the wings here to jump back on here and chat with us. So this is awesome. Anytime you get a chance to talk to, one of the good dudes, man, just out there. And of course, one of the pioneers of our sport. It's always a special thing. Right. And especially when
Yeah.
they choose our little show to come on. That's awesome. Good stuff. Listen, man, we, wanted to, obviously from here on out, I need to make this official. As we make the swap over to Heroes Media Group with the podcast, we've talked about this always being kind of our roots as far as where we came from, but even more so now, sponsoring us for the entire season from here all the way through 25. Now that we are with the Heroes Media Group, the Romans Warrior Foundation is coming on as the official podcast sponsor. They are making it possible for us to keep these shows going here and pipe these things out. To help the TPO along the way, man. They've always been, our big brother. Brian Romans is basically, dude's younger than me, but I'll tell you what, he has been a mentor to me, to teaching me, how to landscape through and how to operate through these funny channels of nonprofit land. But more so, even further and beyond, the Romans Warrior Foundation now is going to be our full official podcast sponsor going forward. So we're always going to highlight those guys, big events we got going on. I can tell you, Jim, we just had a board meeting there, and talking about the 2025 schedule. We were supposed to go to California. Unfortunately, that didn't come through. The contract hasn't come through. Nothing has punched its way in. So right now that California trip's not going to happen, it looks like. But we've got a bunch of other really, really cool. There is a super cool one coming to the St. Louis area in Illinois, just up in there. There is, we're talking possibility of helicopters on scene, flyovers taking place. Yeah, with the wall. It is going to be just super, super cool. So the big thing about the wall, like we've been trying to really narrow this in, is if you're out there in listening land and you have an event anywhere in the United States that's a big celebration or some sort of event that you got going on, consider bringing the GWAT wall in, Global War on Terror. When we bring that in, the Romans Warrior Foundation, we provide this mobile monument, the only mobile monument in the United States dedicated to this era. This entire from 1983 to 2021 in the United States. That is I can't even begin to tell you what it does for the folks in your local community and those that get a chance to be around it and just take it in. One side is the education, the other side is the honor side. Go check it out, Romans Warrior Foundation. You'll see the GWAT area there, the Wall of Remembrance. Check that out there. We'd love to get you in there. All it takes is us ironing out the details with you and then getting a contract deposit done, and bang, we get you on the schedule. We start the wheels are rolling at that point. Did you get a chance to come see it when we were up here at Thunder Mountain or the Veterans Memorial Plaza?
Did not. I did not. I
Gotcha.
saw the pictures though. It was awesome. And you were telling us a story about those two people who didn't know each other, but
Yeah.
they knew somebody on the wall, and then they
Yeah.
kind of had a moment together. It was really touching. It's that kind of stuff that is super cool. And this wall, if I'm understanding it correctly, this wall is exclusive to the Roman Warriors Foundation. It's
Yeah.
his deal. He created it, and that's his baby, right?
No, the creators are out of California, is where they're
Okay.
the guys that come up with the idea. And they took it around and toured with it for several years. And then just as life got in the way and things took place, they couldn't
Yeah.
tour with it. They couldn't keep it on the road. And so then right around 2016, 2017, I believe, is when just channels crossed by knowing people that know each other. Brian saw this. He took it upon himself as to be the next steward of that wall. And so they took over and
Nice.
got to California, got the wall, and bang, they've been on the road with it ever since. So they've been with it for a lot of years. It's been under the care and protection of the Romans Warrior Foundation. So, and that's actually how I met Brian, was up at Shields. We were up there with the wall, and I got a chance to go see it and take it in. And that's where I met the Romans there. So pretty
Nice.
amazing stuff.
Yeah.
So going forward, folks, what we want to do is we're going to start highlighting other nonprofits. We're going to have like 20-minute segments where we're going to go over and introduce you to a new nonprofit, somebody we've worked with or we've heard about, and we get to know them. Just that are people out there, because it is very important to all of us here at the TPO and Romans that it is one fight, one mission, man, one team, one mission. And we don't believe in that whole thing of less nonprofits is better. I don't believe in that whatsoever. We need more of these boots on the ground, sustainable, good nonprofits doing work, because quite frankly, they do better work than the government. They do better work than pills. Just flat out. It's just the truth. I mean, was one of the best sayings ever, that quoted by Mr. Ronald Reagan, President Ronald Reagan. One of the best quotes that you ever hear is, one of the scariest things you can hear is, I'm from the government. I'm here to help. It's like, yikes. No thanks. But that's one of the things there. And as far as with the Heroes Media Group out, we want to be known as kind of that show that's a little lighthearted. We're going to keep things on the lighthearted tip always. Every now and again, we'll touch on some topics that might ruffle a few feathers, but we're going to try to keep things always on the lighter side, that we can here, because obviously, Jim, you and I talked about this the last show. We're not vets, so we don't want to need to be speaking out of turn about certain things. Let's get those vets on here so that they can talk about it. We'll get into that, sort of deal. One thing I did want to do, and Jim, you don't even know about this. One thing I did want to do is one current event topic that's been buzzing around out there. The reason I want to talk about this for about 3 minutes real fast and get your opinion on this is for this simple reason. The men and women that we serve defended this document, and that is the Constitution. They took an oath to protect it against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and to protect our country and to protect those of us that are citizens out there. And there's one of these amendments in particular that caught my attention that has been getting put under fire again, and that is the First Amendment, specifically the area of free speech. I think some people forget what that means. The free speech piece, the reason this I'm going to just make this mention real fast is because, again, this is the people, the men and women that we serve, protected these areas, and I think it's important that we get a good grip on this. Free speech just isn't speech that you like. Okay? It's also speech that you don't like. It's also things that are uncomfortable to hear. It's bad things sometimes. It can be an opinion of someone's that is completely polar opposite of yours. And guess what? That's free speech. Now, I'm not talking about hate speech, and I'm not talking about speech that incites violence. But what I am talking about is having differences of opinions about how to solve things in the country and things of this nature. We cannot get in the habit just because your side or your opinion is that this is false, that it should be blocked or stopped, like we currently have in a lot of our social media landscape. That needs to go away. We cannot, because all it's going to take is now somebody different gets in charge. Now they want to censor something else that doesn't get out there. No, free speech is being protected here. Now, there's a responsibility when it comes to, yes, you're going to be told lies. You're going to be told truth. It's going to come at you. And you, as a consumer of information, have the responsibility. And in my opinion, the full responsibility, I guess that is the best word, to filter that information. You have to be able to do your own research, your own work, to figure out what's BS, what's not. Remember the example I gave back when we were kids walking through the grocery store? I could read Elvis married Bigfoot on the National Enquirer, and guess what? I didn't run home going, oh my God, Elvis and Bigfoot. No, because I knew it was BS when I saw it. I still smiled at it, still wanted to read it because I thought it was hilarious and entertaining, and I put it back down as a kid because I knew what it was, and that's where we got to get. We got to be capable of doing our own homework on this stuff, folks. You can't just get 3 seconds of info and think, that's it. That's the news. Okay. I hate that. I hate that whole deal, and I won't do it. That's why I realize if I make a post this long, people read about that much and they click and move on. I get it. But it doesn't mean I'm going to change for that because I think that's garbage. What say you, Mr. Straws?
Well, I will keep this short because I'm probably not the one to have talking about opinions. And for a disclaimer for me, don't ever believe anything I say on Facebook, because Facebook isn't real. I say things that stir feathers. I say things that start trouble. That's who I am. And if you don't like it, that's the way it goes. So other than that, here's the thing about, to your comment, is when you see something on a news channel or a radio or something, how do you go research what is the truth? What are you going to do? You're going to go to the internet and find out the truth? Another biased piece of information? Do any of us really know the truth other than the person that's lived it or has done it or is creating it, or what their intent for creating said law or said statement is all about? You don't know. But like you said, the thing you have to do is, we need common sense back in the country. Freedom of speech is one thing, but letting it go to an extent that is, the world is getting ridiculous, is another thing. And that's where we have to stop as human beings. The world is getting ridiculous. And I'm not going to even open up cans of worms. So we're just
No,
going
it's
to
all
move
right.
on. Other than, I agree with you, do your research, try to find out, in my opinion, if you want to find out what's sort of going on, watch total polar opposite types of news companies. Watch
Yeah.
CNN and watch Fox, or
Yep.
watch Newsmax and watch some other left central type
Yeah.
media, right? Watch a left, watch a right, and make up a decision of your own, if that's the topic you're talking about, because
And
somewhere between those two is the truth.
yeah.
And then
And
you can
jump.
make a decision on best of what's good for first of all, when I make a decision on something, what's best for all of us as mankind. Then if that doesn't affect it, what's best for us as a country, so we can all thrive and get along. And then what's going to be best for me, for my situation, as I can move forward to better my life.
Yeah.
That's the way I look at how I'm going to break something down. And if it's left, if it's right, if it's central, if it's woke, not woke, if it's a good decision, it's a good decision.
And that's, I think, the very first step is stop putting patronage into these superstars and public figures that don't give three squirts of monkey poop about you. They don't. I'm sorry. I hate to break your bubble, but as much as you think they do, they don't. What they care about is your vote, and so stop getting personally offended on that stuff. Yeah. And just you don't be afraid to go outside the country sometimes too and look at other news sources, grab data from that. And unfortunately, it is not a 3-second deal. It does take time to piece together an informed decision. So, like I said before, the men and women we take care of, they fought for our rights to do this kind of stuff. So I think we owe it to them to take care of this. Like you said, common sense. I love hearing that. All right.
Yeah.
Let's talk fishing, brother. Let's bring the man
This next
himself
guy's
in
full
here.
of common sense. He's got more wisdom than both of us put together, especially on the fishing side, huh?
Agreed. I would put his common sense above any of mine anywhere. Fashion, pickleball, you name it. The guy's got me. He's got me on all fronts. So let's get him in here. The legend himself, the man, Mr. Marty Hughes. What's happening, Doc?
Well, I had a guy help me off the floor tonight at pickleball. So it was a brutal evening. I went 3-7 with my partners, and they were a lot younger than me, a lot of them. So it
hard to find good help, huh?
I found a good helper at the end. He helped me get up, and
That's right.
on my own.
Don't you leave your button behind? I've fallen and I can't get up.
I had changed my shoes and I couldn't get back up. So I was, I said, I got to go help this guy, the podcast, here in a minute, So anyway,
I can't be down here all night.
Yeah. I made it home. It's only 25 yards across the street to where I quit.
Jeez, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I've been wanting to look into it. We've got some indoor places out here that you can go do it, and they've got outdoor stuff,
Yeah.
Of course, Colorado, though, they like to charge through the nose for it, but I was thinking it might be a cool TPO team event, get everybody in there, talk some beef with each other, and let them bang around. It's like, I don't know, it's just like a bigger version of ping pong, isn't it?
Yeah, like if you're a kayaker guy like me, it's a great winter activity because we don't, we use our legs to pedal and stuff sometimes, but man, I just love the movement, getting around and stuff. And it's just, because if you live up in the Midwest like we do,
yeah,
there's not much, you can go sit in an ice hut, but not, here the ice season's 2 weeks anyway. So,
Right.
Wow.
Anyway,
Jealous.
it's great. It's a great activity. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun. So
That's
yeah,
awesome.
made it.
Awesome stuff, man. Well, let's talk 2024 season, dude. You were a busy cat, Marty. I mean, you were on the move last season. Talk me through this because I didn't do my homework because I'm not a journalist. I tie knots for a living. Um,
Oh.
Bassmaster Kayak Series, the National Trail. You fished that.
Mhm.
Did you fish the Hobie as well? And
No.
it's in for AOI. Okay. What about any of the KBF events?
The national I did, yeah.
The national, okay, and the national championship down at 10 Killer. You did that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So
Yeah.
talk us through how that's pretty much started the season, didn't it? The national championship, didn't that get the season kicked off?
Yeah.
How'd that go?
Well, it didn't go very well for me.
Mm.
We had actually another friend of mine. We came back to camp. We were in the same camping area. And by the way, I don't care what anybody says. I got a video of a black panther in Oklahoma. So
That's awesome.
no kidding. There's this rumor that there's a black panther running around. Well, we went right through our campsite, and I've got a video on my phone of it from another lady that took it there. And so they can say all they want, but I'm not going to go putting it on Facebook and get everybody riled up. But
What's it going to take? TPO Doc Talk exclusive. What do we got to do here, Marty?
I'll rile some people. Send it over my way. I'll rile Facebook. I have no problem with that.
People say it's a big black cat. Yeah, it's a big black cat with a long tail. It's a panther, but I think it might have escaped from somewhere or something. But it walked calmly right through camp. Anyway, so I'm fishing with a friend there named Corey, and well, we weren't fishing together. We actually fished and came back, and we both found out we were fishing the same little area.
Mm.
So we decided that we were gonna work it together, and in practice, this is 10 Killer is what I'm talking about, right?
Yep.
And it looked really good, and it was some submerged rock in the middle of this harbor marina type thing, and there was some big ones down in there. Well, game day we went there, and I got one right away, and then there was some bait. We saw all kinds of big fish moving around on a live scope, and then they were gone, just like that.
Oh, wow.
And so we struggled, and I did get a nice smallie over there later too, but no, it just didn't come through. And yeah, around the corner, if we just gone around outside the bay and around, some guys that earned checks that day were fishing over there, and Trey Dawson and I went there after the tournament the day after and fished it. Man, it was a blast. We were live scoping it.
Nice.
With little minnows, and I mean, the jig minnow, whatever. And but no, I didn't do very well in that one. But it was fun, and I enjoyed it. And the classic, just being at the classic was kind of cool,
Right.
And Trey had qualified from Missouri. He won Missouri, and we hung out together and had a blast. And I hung out with Corey and his dad Charlie, and we just the classic itself. Though I got to meet a lot of cool people there. Met a lot of pros, that were there, and I had a great time. Just the main thing was just everybody together. That was the best part.
Right. I mean, and I'll say this, man, they did that classic right. I mean, they know what they're doing. They put on such a great show. They cater to the anglers. They make it such a cool experience, and I'm really excited for the future, especially with Steve-O at the helm, with how that national championship, that goes off at the same time, how it evolves into its own, entity there. And I love the way they just both kind of come together at the end. One concludes and the other gets underway. That's super, super cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, that was it is a neat experience. I've been to Red Crest. I went to the first ever Red Crest, and I've been to the classic now, and it's really no comparison. I love the anglers, that fish Red Crest. I love a lot of those guys as far as a fan, perspective. A lot of respect for those guys. But yeah, the classic is cool event.
And here's something cool. I was standing next to this guy on his Biz Baits, I think it was, and I saw Mike Iconello and his family walking towards us. And I said, "Hey, Ike, I said, man, I keep trying to win one of those free hats with your signature on it, and I just keep coming up short. I said, I'm going to keep trying. He grabs my hat off my head, and he goes, today's your lucky day. And he got a pen, and he signed my hat. I've got it in my bass cave here.
That's awesome.
And so that was pretty cool that he did that, And then I met him again up at Susquehanna, and he had me in his video with his kid. That was pretty cool.
Very cool. With Vegas?
Yeah. Vegas,
yeah.
Cool kid too. So those kind of things are pretty neat.
I really appreciate where Iaconelli's taken his career, man. He had some trouble there. Things got a little bumpy and rocky, and so I really appreciate what he's done recently here and how he's spending that time with Vegas. Poor kid doesn't have a choice. He's fishing for a living. I get the feeling. So, but it's so cool seeing the father dad, and seeing that come out of Iaconelli. It's good for him.
I was fortunate with that because when kayak fishing, nobody hardly knew about it when we started, but I was able to do it with my kids. No tournaments. We just went out and fished every day. And, and after a few years, we had a tournament. My kids were in it. I wasn't even in any tournaments for 10 years. I just had one of my kids was in them, and he loved doing it. And so I just kind of helped him and helped everybody else around there, but I'd paddle around and help people, but I never entered them until 2013. And, so I'm very fortunate that happened because I don't know what I would have done. And by the way, I do, because of that. So last fall we had a tournament up at Summit. It was the third event. Yeah, it was the third event of our Catch All You Can. And
nice.
What I noticed there was a lot of father sons there.
Oh, nice.
And Kevin Workman and his son Jack. I can't remember all of them right now, but I thought, why don't we have an event for father sons or father daughters? Well, guess what? Kayak Jack Outdoors is going to have one this next year. I have kind of a date, but get this though. It's not only kayak, it's boat, kayak, or bank.
That's awesome.
And no entry fee.
Wow.
Entry fee. So I'm working on sponsors right now, and I've got a couple good ones. What we're going to do is we're still going to have the little check cards that, the champion and the runner, whatever. But at the same time, we're going to draw for the prizes.
Oh, that's sweet. Okay.
So if James wins, he gets his card, but guess what? He's got to win the drawing to win the prize.
Right.
So anybody can win it. So I think it's going to bring more camaraderie to the sport. And also we did the Heartland did a kayak boat thing, and it was cool to meet those guys. But, because that's how our Monday night league for kids here is that way. You can fish from a boat. You can fish for anything. We don't care. The bridge, the kayak, canoes, whatever. And then at the end of the night, you turn in your fish, and it's a team as well. 2 kids can be together. An adult and a kid can be together, but no adults can be together.
Right.
And we've been doing that for 5 years.
That's awesome.
And so anyway, based on what you said there, I wanted to let you know that's what we're doing too. So that's some big news that's going to come out. And Brady Stores and I are going to do a podcast on that.
That's very cool.
Nice.
That's very well. We'll be waiting for that to hear about that. And after you and Brady are done, we'll promote the heck out of it, man.
Yeah.
Just keep us in the loop, and we'll be anything we can do to help. We're down.
Yeah.
So you start off with the national championship, have a great time. It's a good social outing type thing, not the best for the fishing, but then 2024 season kicks in, dude, and you start taking names. I mean, that was a great season, man. Didn't you end up 6th in AOI for the year?
In 23, I did.
Oh, okay.
I was 5th.
5th, yeah.
And this year, I actually started at Lake Murray before the national championship.
Oh, okay.
And there I bombed. I went to an area and then always boats showed up, and I'm like, oh man, I had nowhere to go. And then the wind picked up and I was stuck, so, I just fished and met guys, and stuff. I tried my best, but it still didn't get any big ones. But the pattern was the big bass were behind these islands out of the wind. And if I had just gone over there, but the problem was getting over there in the 4-foot waves, because as you may have remembered, a lot of kayaks sunk that day.
Yeah.
Tipped. And I think they had a lot of tips during that one. So yeah, I didn't do very well there. And then at Gunnersville, also I didn't do as well there either. The first day, um, well, that's a long story. I left early because one of the guys that works with the KBF said we could leave early, and it because of the light or whatever. And so 4 of us took off. Well, we got a phone call says, you guys got to go back to the dock and take a picture of it and come back or you're DQ'd. So I wasted a whole hour and a half beginning the tournament and never again will I listen to anybody but the guy who's running it.
Right. Right.
So when I got back, 2 guys had moved into that area, and I had to squeeze in, and they had gotten a lot of the fish that I was planning on catching, and so I only got 2 or 3 that day. Then the second day I did a little better, but anyway, I started off pretty rough. In 23, was a great year. I got 5th and did really well. But the other thing was, on the Bassmaster side, I fished all 5. But I went to the 5th one down at Caddo, and I hope I'm not getting ahead of you too far here.
No, this is perfect.
But I thought, okay, I'm gonna have to go to all 5 to try to qualify, because I mean, once you fish 3, you go, I got to get in. And I was sitting in the top 50, but I knew I'd get bumped out by a lot of guys at Caddo. So I went to Caddo knowing that I had to get like a 50th or better, and I ended up 59th, but there were several roll downs. Get this has never happened. I don't think it's ever happened in the Bassmaster Series this year. All 25 that qualified in the top 5s were all different anglers.
Oh, wow.
So that created more roll downs, and get this, I made it in by 6 spots.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so I was thankful that's how much parity there is.
Yeah.
In the sport at that level. And so I felt fortunate to get 59th. And, I went to an area, I could have gone to Bistineau and gone for the big ones too. But there were some spots on Caddo, but I decided to go to Caddo where I knew I could catch 2 good limits and get in the top 50. That was my goal. And I feel like I accomplished that, so.
That's awesome, man.
You have history down there, don't you, Marty, on Caddo? Didn't you and James Francis and somebody else win a 5-man tournament or something down there for Hobie?
Yeah, we won the national championship for the KBF the first year.
KBF, that's what it was.
James Jeremiah, Richie McMichael, myself, and Joshua Booth. It was a made-up team at the last minute, by the way. Every other team had all these corporate jerseys and stuff. We were like a ragtag Bad News Bears bunch, come in. And we won it. It was kind of cool. And then I got a check. I caught my 5th fish with a minute to go that day.
Wow.
So, second day, and got into money. And I think that 3 or 4 of us got into money in that one. On that, there was 450 people in that, by the way.
Wow.
Something like that. It was a huge one. And so I've been a couple times. I've gotten check scared a couple times, but like I said, you had Bistineau in there. Bistineau is low, and there's the big fish. If you could find them, were easy pickings, and a lot the top check winners. I think only 1, maybe 2 were on Caddo. The rest were on Bistineau. So that made it tougher. But no, so on the national scene, I made it, and I feel good about that. I just want to tell anybody that's listening out there, if you some people think, well, I'm not good enough to fish the national. Man, you just got to go do it. You never know. And you meet so many cool people, and everybody's helpful there. And for me, it's just I have a lot of experience. I've done well, and I've also been at the bottom. So that's how it is.
That's a sport, though, right? I mean,
it's a roller coaster. Yeah,
big time.
Yeah. Let me ask you, Marty. We're always taught as this is for people who don't travel as much, that stay more home. We're always taught that a bass is a bass is a bass, right? And that basic analogy is true. Based on a seasonal pattern and water temperature, a bass is a bass. You fish a lot of national stuff. How much of a bass is a bass is a bass versus when you go to different parts of the country geographically, Santee Cooper versus Seminole versus Caddo versus going up north, Missouri, Truman, how much of the lakes you've got to know the area and the personality of the lake, because even though a bass is a bass, each part of the country, and this is just from what I've done from national, is I think that's what a lot of people struggle with, is understanding the personality of the lakes around the country and how they fish. Have you noticed any of that? Do you have anything?
Oh, yeah.
Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, the southern bass have a drawl to them when they talk. But
Hey guys, you want to go fishing?
no, no, you all look a little different. You're not the kind of guy I used to getting caught by. No, no, really though, you hit it nail on the head there, James, with that. In that each lake is different, has its own personality. I do know a lot of guys that are very successful where they fish in their own state and then they venture out and they're not as successful. But that's okay because you grow from that. And that's for me, when when I come back home, I'm just a lot better angler than I was before I left, even though I may not have done very well. But yeah, the other thing you notice is the types of bass. Some of them, like some lakes, like if you go to Lake Murray, what's the other one down there? Oh man, there's another big lake down there. Hartwell. Those bass are long and lean because they're on that shad. It's a
Shad light.
Huh?
Shad light.
No, there's another type of bait fish down there.
Herring.
The herring. Yeah, blue herring.
Blue herring. Yeah. So the fish there are built differently because of that. And then you go up north, say you go up north of La Crosse, and you get a guy from the south who goes up there and fishes and goes, man, all these fish are 17 inches, but they're built like tanks. Well, a 17-inch bass in La Crosse is like a 20-inch bass at Guntersville.
Right. Right.
So it's all relative. Right. And like I told a guy the other day, I caught a 20-inch bass here the other day. He's like, and he lives down in the south. He goes, well, that's a nice bass. I said, you don't get it. That's a 23-inch bass in Texas.
Right.
Yeah. And so, yeah, you go to Texas and the bass are gigantic there, and it's cool to catch them. And then you come back to Nebraska and you catch a 20-inch and you think, man, that's a lot smaller. No, that's a big bass for where we're at.
It's huge. Yeah.
So, yeah, depending on where you're at, the size, you got to understand that going in, though. And like, then you go up to Susquehanna and you're catching smallies, and that's a whole different animal altogether,
Right.
Right. And because then you're actually, you can't really see them, but you're kind of they see you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You got to make long casts. And I was wondering why there was never any fish where I was casting. It's because they were gone before I got there, because they could see for quite a ways, because that water's a foot deep,
Right.
Yep.
Right.
See, there's the little secrets right there. That's what I'm talking about. Those little nuances that you have to do to make a difference. Because even if you have one style, out here being from the West in Colorado, I tend to fish deep a lot. Fishing deep is easy for me. So, and when I say deep, I'm talking 55, 65 is deep out here. When you go to the South, like 20 feet could be deep, right? And that's nothing to me, right? So, but I get out there and I get caught up in a style of fishing that I'm programmed to fish out here, because that's what I have to do. And my brain can't trigger that, hey, these fish will spend their time in 6 inches of water, buddy. Put all that finesse stuff away and throw a buzz bait, throw some big stuff, start flipping some heavy stuff, get back there. But then you get back there and you see so much that you get overwhelmed with the information. You're like, am I in the right spot? So then I go back out. And I'm like, it's just a vicious cycle. National fishing is totally different than local fishing.
See, and I'm the polar opposite. The moment I go out, if I'm more than a cast away from the shoreline, yeah, dude, I'm lost. I mean, I'm sending flares up at that point, leaving breadcrumbs in the water, because it's like I'm way offshore, man.
Yeah, you have to have a growth mindset when you're fishing on the national scene. Yep. And even a regional scene, you got to have a growth mindset, because if you go under thinking, like, I throw the Neko, everybody knows that I throw the Neko. But it's how I throw it and the colors I throw and when to throw it that are the difference. Yeah, I'm not doing the same thing every time, because I have guys that tell me, I tried it and I didn't catch anything. And I said, where were you fishing? And what were you doing? And then I say, well, maybe you can try it this way there, because you have to fish your lures differently. Like Russ Snyder's, he fishes a lot of the same things on all these lakes, just like I do, but he's doing something different on all of them.
Yep.
And he's the best.
He's doing 200 miles an hour is what he's doing. He fishes fast as hell.
Yeah, he's covering water. I've seen him cover a lot of water.
I'll tell you, man, my first introduction to truly sitting down and getting serious about that Neko rig was this season. And when we take folks out on the water, there you go. When we take folks out on the water, it is in Matt Collins who just, what's up, Matt? He says,
Matt.
hey, what's up,
Oh,
Marty?
hey.
He's hanging out here watching the show. He said something after this last event that it was really cool to see the team, start to understand this. He said, man, he goes, I got to tell you, I got a lot of respect for what you do now, because you really can't fish when you've got somebody with you there that you're trying to put them on fish. I'm like, no, you really can't, because you're worried about getting them on fish and making sure they're taken care of out there. So it's a different deal. Well, we're out at one of our events and I'm doing that pretty much all day. I got a young man tethered to my boat and I'm just trying to get him around fish. Well, we get into this one area and he's off fishing this side and I figure, what the heck? I got those Neko heads from you. And so I load that bad boy up. I get my best Eagle Claw Neko, hook set up there, got everything ready to go. I fling this thing out because I had rolled over with this little spot and kicked over to side scan, was taking a peek at a couple things. And I'm like, man, I've got a whole section of them sitting right out and around us and right underneath me. Mm-hmm. So I throw the Neko out. I'm not kidding you. Literally like the second cast of throwing your Neko rig out there, mm-hmm. that second pull, I feel like a hit, just pop. And I reel that little egg beater up. I pull in a 19-inch smallmouth out of this lake that we're on. And like we were just talking about, a 19-inch smallmouth in Colorado is a legendary fish, man. I mean, that is a hell of a catch. We've got there's places where they're out here, but that's not a common size to catch. We got that on video. That was fantastic. But I get this thing in, and I'm sitting here and I'm like, okay, I'm all right, Neko, I'm paying attention. All right, Marty, I see what you're doing here. And so as we're retying a couple things and Flanagan comes in between the boat that I'm towing and mine, and he's helping load the young man up on a drop shot rig. I throw that Neko back out and I'm telling them, guys, they're right underneath me. Okay, I can see them darting in and out from underneath my boat right now on the 2D. I'm just watching, traditional sonar, and I'm watching them coming back and forth because I'm just sitting still in about 15 foot of water there, and I'm watching them. I throw out, doink, literally as we're sitting there, hooked into like a 16 plus out of this. And I'm like, okay, I'm sold. I like the Neko rig now. But what that did for me, man, is it just created such a confidence for me that I know this bait will catch fish. But like you said, I started as the season went on, I started tweaking little things here and there, moving that band around, changing different, things and changing weights and colors and just little things that it added into just an arsenal now of, hey, I need to catch a fish. This catches bigs and smalls, but I like most of the fish I've been catching have all been, decent size. So segue that it is Kayak Jack Outdoors, man. This Neko rig thing, you are known for the Neko rig, Marty, across the country. Anybody who's been around kayak fishing knows Marty Hughes, Neko rig. What led you to that thing, man? Because you are a master of the Neko rig for sure.
Well, that's great. That's a great question. And I've got some here, like I said, and I make my own heads, everybody knows. And then there's a comment by Matt Collins about the jig head, and I'll get into that in a minute. But that thing right there is killing it too right now. Well, 10 years ago, Bass Pros approached me and asked me to come out and speak about kayak fishing because no one knew anything much about it. And so I drove the 6 hours. Second year I did that, they bring me upstairs and they go, hey, we got to talk to you about something. And I go, what'd I do wrong? And they go, nothing. They said, we want to offer you a contract. I go, what? We want you to be on our national professional team. And I go, well, I'm not a pro bass guy. They go, no, you don't get it. We need this kayak fishing thing to grow, and we want to grow it through you. I said, okay. So I signed on with them. When I got my contract, no kidding, it had a Ranger boat on it. And so I called up the man. I said, hey, is this supposed to? He goes, no, you're supposed to get a kayak. So I got a kayak. Anyway,
took the boat, Marty. Take the boat.
Right, you shouldn't have said anything.
I thought maybe it was a promotion or something, you know. But
You could buy a lot of kayaks with a Ranger boat. I'll tell you that.
anyway,
Yeah.
anyway, with that though, I spent a lot of time there, and I don't know if you've heard of Jim Flowers, meteorologist. He's a cool guy, but he was a big time meteorologist out of Omaha, but he worked at Bass Pros, and I'll tell you what, he gives the best forecasts of anybody on Facebook. There, his name's Jim Flowers, meteorologist. You got to look him up. Anyway, he comes up to me when he goes, because I threw the Ned rig a lot back then. And by the way, I'm giving Ned Kale a call tomorrow. I got hooked up with him. I'm going to try to see if I can fish with him and do a little story with him.
Nice.
He lives just 2 hours from me.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. Anyway, I was still in the Ned rig, and I was losing a lot of big fish on it, and because I used this is before the big hooks. But a guy named Peter showed me the Ned rig at Wanahoo. I'm going back now. He cut a Cinco in half, and he put half the Cinco on the hook, and we were hammering the bass. And I thought that's pretty. So I started doing Ned. So I became like a Ned expert. I caught this, no kidding. I caught 58 bass in a row in a tournament, all over 15 inches, never moved with a Ned rig. The same.
Good Lord.
That was on Wanahoo in its prime. And I caught 80 something that day. I got fourth in the tournament that day. I had a whole bunch.
Fourth?
Yeah, fourth. Well, I had a lot of 17s, 16s, and 15s, you know. But
I don't think we have 58 bass in any one body of water out here in Colorado, to be honest.
in a paddle kayak, and I anchored it off of a ledge, and they were just stacked there. I was on 2D sonar, you know.
Wow.
Anyway, so Jim comes up and says, "Hey, Marty, I got something I want to show you." And it was the Neko, and he says, "Go try this." So I went out and I tried it. Oh my gosh, I thought, this is great. And little did I know that the Neko is actually decades old, but it was in Japan forever. And actually, Russ Snyder's was using it a long time ago in California. But I kind of kept it a secret for about a year. I didn't tell anybody. But in 2019, I was doing very well in tournaments, like either winning or top whatever. And everybody's asking me what I was doing. I just said, I'm using a worm. That's it, you know. But the next year I started guiding with it and showing people. And then I kind of told some people, and then everybody wanted to fish and figure it out. And so it spread like wildfire through this area. And people are having more success. A lot of people use it today. Some people don't. But, you know, I had a lot of confidence. I had used it so much, I gained a lot of confidence with it. And I just kept tweaking it, making it better. And then the heads, you know, they were the half moon shape, but they didn't match the profile of the worm, which you can see the profile.
Yeah. And
so I designed a button head to match the profile of it, which you can see it's the same width. Yeah. I designed that, and then had the mold made, and then started, you know, using them myself. And then I started giving to people, and then eventually I just said, I got to start selling these, man, because it's good. But so I make them, and then they look like this. You can see that there.
Yep.
That's the 1/8, and I just make a 1/8 and a 1/16, and they're on my. There's like a website to a website. You go to my website, kayakchat.com. You can go there. But the idea is that I just wanted to help people be more successful. So when I guide, this is pretty much all my clients use. I teach a college class here in May, and every year they just rave over this. And
now, are you exclusive to the Elastec? That's your choice, right?
No, I use I use a lot of worms, but I just signed on with Z-Man this past month, by the way. And so,
congratulations, man!
So
that's awesome.
I have to have a meeting with them tomorrow. But
they got Jody Queen and you. Good night.
And Abby Donanza or whatever, Donoza. Yeah. He's on there too. And they only add 2 a year. They add 2 guys a year, they said. So I feel pretty fortunate for that deal. And that came about through a lot of hard work. You know, I didn't just like, hey, let's take that guy, you know. But,
he's got a cool name.
Yeah. So anyway.
Neko Hughes.
Yeah.
Neko Hughes.
So I do use a RoboWorm a little bit too, you know, and some smaller stuff. But you can Neko rig anything. But the TRD though, I can't tell you how many literally thousands I've been through. I would go in. I have a guy here that would order cases for me,
Nice.
and because I gave them away to kids, every time I see a kid fishing, hey, you want to try this, and they can start catching fish with it, and then of course the Neko, it's still big for me, and a couple friends, Bobby Rubeck, he's out of Nebraska, you might know him. He'd always tell me, how are you catching all those fish? Because he's always doing really good. He goes, I'm using a Ned rig. So all I could think of was he was using a little short Ned worm on a little hook. No, he was using the big TRD.
Yep.
And he was using a jig head, kind of like this, but with a 1/0.
Wow.
Well, there are bigger hooks out there, but the heads on those aren't like this one.
Right.
This is a button head.
Yeah, it's
so
mushroom style kind of.
Yeah. So it stands up on the bottom. And so it's very easy to it's easy to hook with them. And I make these as well, these jig heads. I do make them with 1/0, but this 3/0 hook is a victory hook. It's very sturdy and very sharp. And you can hook it up like that and make it weedless and stick it in brush piles. And it absolutely gets the big ones.
Wow.
So that's been a big deal for us too. And I'm enjoying seeing people have success. So I call it the BR Midwest Finesse Jig after Bobby Rubeck. And
That's awesome.
He won a tournament in the last hour with that down up at Okoboji, there with that setup. And
I'm thinking, Marty, correct me if I'm wrong, with that setup you just showed us there with that mushroom head on that jig head, with the Z-Man, those are they tend to float up and they won't lay down like a heavier Senko would that's filled with salt or no salt or a different brand or a cheaper brand, so to speak. The key to that setup is Z-Man helps that whole setup.
Now I'm gonna give you guys a little secret here tonight, or to tell you something that's, maybe it's not a secret, I don't know, but the thing about this is, it stands straight up, and if you just lightly shake the hook, you can make that worm look nervous. I don't talk about the shake. I talk about making the creature look nervous. Now, if you're using a Senko, you can slit the tail about 1/4 inch, and it will shake like that on the end. That's something that will help you too. But then the other thing is, like Russ Snyder's, he uses the bang sticks, which has the tentacle thing sticking out. So that has a nervous look to it too. I just like the TRD because this resembles a ribeye to a bass. Why? I'll tell you why.
Right.
Because it's like the steer. If you take the horns off the steer, he's a little bit easier to get to. So if you take the claws off the crawdad, which a lot of the smallies will pick off, they'll try to pick off the claws first before they try to eat it. And same with the largemouth. And so this looks like a crawdad. It's the same wake as a crawdad as it's moving through, and with no claws. And if they can see it at all, I'm nailing that thing. The other thing is, remember, Neko means like a cat which scratches the bottom, like their box or their carpet or whatever. So this resembles the cat going across the bottom.
Right.
As they scratch. That's what it means.
Nice.
And then also, I want to tell you this: the guy that created the Neko, he said, this was a quote directly from him. I don't have his name right now, but he said it is the lure that is like a vacuum cleaner that catches everything. I caught 9 species at Big Mac with it.
Wow.
In one day. And so it literally catches every fish, that's out there.
So when you head out in the morning, how many Neko rigs are hooked up in the yak?
I have probably 5 or 6 packages that have between like 12 and 20 in each one. But I'm not going to use them all that day, but I have different colors and different weights depending on the clarity of the water. But once I get into a tournament, let's say after practice, I will hone that down to like just a couple packages of what I know I'm going to use.
Yep.
Yep. And also I use shrink wrap. I use some black shrink wrap on the worm itself too. So it saves me a lot of worms. In the old days, I just had the hook on there, and it stays in there pretty good. But when the bass shakes its head out of the water, that's when you lose them.
So you're using shrink tubing? Is that what you're using?
Yeah, I didn't bring any out
Yep.
here with me, but that
Like,
it's
like the lighter kind of, you put the lighter underneath it and you shrink it
Yeah.
around it a little bit.
yeah.
Okay.
If you use
Yeah.
use 1/4 inch, you don't need the lighter, but if you use 3/8, a little bit of lighter on it, and you can't leave them on there for a real long time because it will distort the worm a little bit. But for a week or two, they're fine, you know. But in intense heat, they don't work. But you can't. Elastex does not work really well with silicone. It only works
Right.
well with pure rubber.
Yep.
Right.
on
Right.
there. So because I even take them, I didn't bring them out either, but I've actually threaded rubber strands through these to make it look like a helmagranite.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
Yeah.
And I've done that. I've done so many little tweak things that there's an article on Wired to Fish that I wrote about Neko hacks that you can look up there. It's really good. That's where Z-Man really noticed it too and reached out. And also I'm big on the micro baits as well, which have worked for me. But the Neko, and by the way, before you throw it, you stretch it out like this, and then what it does when that goes down in the water, then it will catch air and little air bubbles will come out of it.
Very cool.
You know,
Nice.
and I've put rattles in the end. I put blades on them, you name it. And then I use I'll tell you, the hook is either a owner sniper 2-aught or a Berkeley Fusion 19 2-aught. Those are the two very best hooks. If the VMCs are good hooks, unfortunately, once they hit a rock, they're done. And they get dull because I was losing a lot of fish with them, and I was like, man, what's going on? And I checked my finger on the hook, and I'm going, man, I can't even hook a fish with this. And no, they're good hooks, but if you're using vegetation, they're great. But if you use them on rock, they don't work good. Where the Berkeley Fusion and the Sniper can work for a lot longer.
Nice.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, are you getting, and obviously it probably depends on situation, but do you find more of your bites? Is this something you're dragging across the bottom? That's your main presentation, or are you kind of casting it out and you can kind of wiggle it in the water column to give it kind of like that Senko? Because it's very typical to a Senko, except it's the weight and everything is leaned a little forward, so it falls a little different. So maybe that's why it's so successful. Is everybody and their brother throws the Senko, but the Neko is just a little different. So is it suspended or is it a bottom? And when do you choose when to use which one in which situation?
Great question again, James. The key is this: what do the fish want? So you try different things. Like with this 1/16 ounce that has a slower fall rate. So like in this super cold water right now, it's like going down just like this, and then a little bit of twitch and down, and then I get bit before it's the bottom. But so the 1/8 I primarily use on rocks because once it hits the rock, it makes a clicking sound,
Yeah,
like a crawdad. And the only thing is though, if I'm getting bit by bluegills, that's another little tip for you, is if your Neko is getting snagged in the rocks, it's because the bluegills are dragging it in there. And if you pop your line, you can sometimes pop it out, and when you pop it out, the bass will grab it. But if you're not getting even snagged in the rocks or nothing, move because there's nothing there.
Yep.
That's what I found with the bluegills. But yeah, so there's different things you can do. Like I swim it. Like the other day, I was at a pond and I was fishing about 12 foot deep, and I was just letting it drop. I let it drop all the way bottom, and I dead sticked it because the water's 48. I dead sticked it, and then I just lightly twitched it, and bam, and I caught some big ones that way. But you know, you just got to go with what the fish want. And this green pumpkin will work in dirty water. I tend to use blue black in dirty water a lot. But this one works in clear or dirty. I try to stay as natural as I can. This head on here would be in a dirty water situation. Here, I would use that in clear water. Spawning beds, people say, well, you got to use this in the winter and use this in the spring and use the summer. I'm sorry to tell these guys, but the Neko works year round, even in ice fishing. It doesn't matter.
Yep.
It'll work. I don't know what it is. I think it's might be the angle. I don't know, but the wake it makes is from this way, and the Wacky's wake is up and down. But I think the wake this way resembles that crawdad more. You know.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So, and it can resemble a bluegill. I don't know, but it just depends, James, on what they want. But you can try them all. I do tend to let it hit the bottom and then drag it across and try to create a little cloud with it, as it goes.
Yeah.
And the way to practice it, you guys, is get near the shore where there's some clear water and just practice your motions with it and see what it looks like, so you know what it's doing when it's in deeper water.
Exactly.
Right. To get that feel.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the other thing is, whether the fish can see the line or not, I don't know, but I use all the way up to 16 pound. I go from 12 to 16 is all I use.
Now, are
Sunline.
you doing braid with a leader, or are you just going
Yeah.
straight floral?
Yeah, I use a braid the leader, Sunline Sniper, and I go about 6 foot in dirtier water, and I'll go 8 to 12 or more in clear water.
With a leader.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
How effective has it been around grasses? Because I know that hook gets exposed down at the bottom. Have you figured a way to kind of sneaky expose it so you can still rig it?
Man, James, you ask great questions.
Sorry,
That's why we bring him
the
in,
master
man.
on here. I'm not going to let this go by.
You do. And by the way, that comes up a lot, James. The deal on that is that I never get snagged, and it's totally exposed. The angle that it's taking, and I should have brought the hook. The hook is like, let me show you how I hook it so everybody can see. But let's say this is your hook.
There is something to this on what direction the hook points on that worm.
As you're bringing that through, it's basically weedless because it's going over the branch like this. Look, it's only when you let it all the way down and then the branches above it and they get stuck. But if you're going over weeds, so I love the fish using hydrilla, thick weeds, whatever. Now I will say in lily pads it doesn't work as well, but
right, because it wants to roll when it hits the top of the pad. I'm going to guess
it goes over branches pretty good as long as you're I'm shaking it all the time. A lot of times,
yes,
and a lot of times it'll get bit right when it hits that stick, and so you can see how weedless it is here though, as it comes through.
That's awesome.
Like I said, when I do get snagged, if it's rock, especially if I just fling that line, flick it, it pops loose every time. And the other thing is when you get stuck, stick your rod tip down to the crack, nudge it just a little bit without breaking your rod, and come right out. I lose very few, but I do take a lot with me. For you just never know how something happens to the head or whatever. But
got a great question coming in from Collins here, Marty. Of the 2,000 fish you caught this year, what percentage do you think you caught on Neko?
At least 1,500. At least.
That's awesome. Explain to people what you do each year with this, because this is a super cool thing that I literally look forward to the post going, what number's he at now, man? Where's he at in this deal now? It's one of those cool things. Explain to us what you're doing with that.
I'm a little stressed out right now with that one. You got to get 30 more, and the water's cold, and the air's cold too. Well, I don't know how, it's been a lot of years ago. My kids were little, and we just all set outrageous goals. What would the guy that would become my son CJ's basketball coach in high school, clear across the other end of the state, was a speaker at our school. Unbelievable that my son would play for him, 8-10 years later and win 2 state championships. So Jim speaks, we go home, and we got to make some outrageous goals, you guys. So CJ, what do you want to do? Dad, I want to make 75,000 shots in the summer. I said, okay, that's daily repeated efforts. Remember, you got to make so many, and this isn't shooting, it's making. My other son wanted to run 450 miles for cross country. He was going to be a senior. He had already qualified 3 times. He wanted to do a 4th time and win a medal at district. So they both met their goals. CJ ends up winning the state super shooters contest in the gym 6 hours away that he played in a few years later.
Wow.
Isn't that it was unbelievable. Unbelievable. So they go, what are you gonna do, Dad? I go, I'm gonna catch the year in fish. It was 2014, I believe. And I failed miserably with that. And I fished a lot, but I just didn't make it. The second year, we all set our goals again and so forth. And I missed it again. And I said, I'm gonna get this. So 3rd year, I blew it out the water. And I've been doing it ever since. Well, then it got too easy. I caught like 2,700 fish in a year. And I'm like, this is too easy. And people don't even appreciate it anymore. So I said, I'm going to make it just bass. So I did just bass and I made it. Well, then Dwayne Wally got a hold of me that runs Tourney X. And he says, hey, Marty, let's make this a national deal. Let's challenge more people and inspire more people to set an outrageous goal like this. So I said, okay, so we put it out there for free. got 240 or 245 guys that did it. That was 2023, and I made it, and nobody else made it. And so that's how hard it is. It's just, you got to fish a lot. But I fished like 140 something times. You got to average about 15 bass a day when you do that, which is a lot still, because bass, it's not like it's every day you go out there and catch them all.
No.
So then that's how it came about. So this year we called it Catch More. Oh, by the way, Kayak Cushion sponsors it. So they give a kayak cushion because you're on your butt so much, you deserve one,
Right.
And so I got this kayak cushion from Brandon there, runs Kayak Cushion. So anyway, so this year we did it, and Dwayne charged a little bit less than the $6.50 for people to enter. I think $5. We got 80 guys. Well, I am 30 fish away, and there's another guy that's not too far behind. He's got a ways to go. He's in Texas, but I'm struggling, and I called a couple guys today, and I'm looking for warm water areas that the fish will congregate to. I'm going to try to go out tomorrow, but these dang winds, man, are brutal. And if I'm going to go in a kayak, it's dangerous. I've had the proper gear and stuff, but it is dangerous, and I don't like I hate cold. I'm a California surfer guy, and it's like,
I'm with you, dog. I'm with you.
Can't take it for very long. So, anyway, I'm trying to make it, and it's not just because, I want to catch a lot of fish, just because I just want to inspire people to set an outrageous goal, see if you can get it. And if I don't get it, I don't get it, but I'm going to try my best to finish it. My wife says, "Hey, Marty, why don't you just change your goal?" I said, "Don, you don't get it. I'm going for this goal. I'm going to get it." And so I'm obsessed with
tell me I can't. Yeah. That just means I'm gonna.
It's like that movie with that Santa Claus guy. He became Santa. I can't remember. Anyway, I'm just obsessed with it.
That's awesome.
I've got to get it, and I don't care what it takes. If I have to fly to Florida on December 30th, I'll do that.
Well, don't come to Colorado, because I can guarantee.
Yeah, don't head this way.
I've already figured out I'm not going north. I went an hour and a half south yesterday, and I thought, this lake's going to be on fire, because I caught 12 there last week. I caught 3 fish and lost 7, and I'm like, this is ridiculous. And I should have fished different. Anyway, I got a couple spots that I might try in December, so stay tuned for that. I'm at 1994 or something like that. I don't know. But that's where that came from. And
that's
a lot
awesome,
of
man.
The Neko, man, it just shows the Neko works, man, too. So
yeah.
The other thing is, people say, I tried it, doesn't work, or you're not really catching all those bass, or whatever. But we recorded every single bass, you guys. The other thing is, I don't run the tournament Dwayne does. So some guys are saying, well, you did that so he could see where guys are catching fish. I have no rights to that thing at all. Dwayne does it all, so I have nothing to do with that part of it.
You're always going to have the toadstools running around out there. The mushrooms, they pop up every now and again.
I know.
Yeah.
You said something interesting, Marty. You said time on the water, hours versus the fish that you catch. Do you log the hours? And it'd be interesting to see how many hours you put in a year. Is one year better than another? How can we correlate that to, is it an El Nino, an El Nina? Is it like how many hours you think you 140 days a year times 10 days, 1,400 hours?
Yeah. Well, I know this. I know I've had 10 oil changes this year. And I have a brand new truck with 70,000 miles on it.
Yep.
And and I got another truck with 250, and the other one has 200. So that's how much fishing I do. But yeah, I do put the hours in my reports. That'd be interesting to add all that up. But I would say this though, James, a lot of it is due to the fact that in the practice time that I fished tournaments, I didn't go hard this year. I just did more observing and more looking around than I did fishing, and that probably didn't help. And the other thing is, on tournament days, a lot of the times I don't even measure the fish that are shorts. I just throw them out.
Right.
So I really have made it, but I haven't.
Right.
Right, because you're prioritizing. You're not going to waste your time putting 15, 12 inches on a board when you got 87 inches or something in a bag.
Yeah, but I will say this though. Yes, this year with the Indian summer that we had, the fish were in a funk for about a month there, and you just couldn't catch them.
Yep.
And so where October is usually really good for me, September, October, it was not very good for me. And so I thought I could finish. I had myself paced to finish like in October, but I didn't get it done. And so, it's kind of fun though, because it's making me like get out of my comfort zone a little bit and
Right.
go harder, and it's
How many more you got this
30
year?
more.
How many? What's your
Needs 30 more.
30 more.
30 more?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
It's like, I mean, you go out for 6 hours and you get 2 and you're like, I can't do this anymore.
I'm cold.
I got to tell you this though, because I had a devotion the other day about this was, find the joy in what you're doing. And that's what I do. I look around, I go, you know what? I could be still working somewhere.
Right.
And by the way, people say, well, he's retired, he has all this time. Guys, I have less time than when I was a principal. I have so much going on.
I was going to say it's all the things you got going on, and this kind of, it's a good segue into the next piece here, which is going to be super, super cool. Coming up February 1st. Let's go ahead and get this up on the deal here.
Yeah.
Kayak Jack Sportsman's Expo getting ready to go off. This is the second annual event. You started this last year in Auburn, Nebraska. Here, talk to us. The Sportsman's Expo. I'll go ahead and announce it right now. We are going to be on hand, provided that the weather stays good for us to be able to make that trek across Nebraska. February 1, we will be on our way out there, and we're looking forward to setting up and talking fishing with folks and introducing them to what we do as well, man. This is going to be cool.
We can get you a snowplow to lead you the whole way.
Right? That'd be awesome. A little escort.
Yeah. So this started as a means to raise funds for the events that we run. I just got tired of asking people for stuff, and I just know that I'm a business owner. Business owners, they get asked by everybody. I thought, if I put more of effort into this myself, then maybe people will come on board that way. And sure enough, it was unreal.
That's awesome, man.
So I reached out to people. I said, hey, can you help support this? And so we just charged $2 to get in, $25 for a vendor. I mean, there's one in Lincoln 2 weeks prior that's $400 a booth, and we're charging $25. We have a chili cook-off. Prizes for that. We have a cornhole contest. Rick Valdez and Tyler Alexander are running that. I did get word today that the Husker bass team is supposed to be coming to it, and I'm going to run the pitching contest, like the little pitching contest for the kids.
Nice.
And I got Hunter Suitsland, I think you pronounce it. He owns LS Lures. I needed a jig tire. He's going to try to come and do that for us.
Very
I think
cool.
Sure. And then, and we have several guys coming in. I thought, what better way to bring a lot of guys together and then have presenters talk about why they're so successful. So we have crappie, catfish, and bass, and we have a panel discussion live on Facebook. And it's kind of a mini expo, but I had more comments from people about, hey, this is better than the big ones.
That's awesome.
And it was like a community thing, and there was food there. And then I tied in the FBLA, the Future Business Leaders of America classes from the school. They run the concession stand and a chili cook-off, and then they make money for themselves. And then we get a little bit too off that. And then we have raffles for prizes. And then it was just a great time. And most of the lure makers that came and sold out.
That is so cool.
So, and we had Select Sale was there. They're coming again. I'm pretty sure Eco Fishing is coming. I have to talk to Jonathan this week. He plans on coming up. And then there's another company out of Omaha, but I don't know if they're coming or not. But I'm working on more hunting stuff as well, reaching out to a lot of them. Right now, I think we're right at 18 or 19 vendors, which is pretty good. Last year we had 22. So a lot of it is their schedules. Some people have events coming on, that can't get there. But we want to keep growing it and making it better. And it's right across the street from my house. It's really cool. In the venue.
Right. That's convenient.
Yeah. It's a nice venue. It's got everything in it that we need. And and by the way, I told you you'd stay at, I got to ask my wife yet, but you'd stay at my house. And
you haven't asked the boss yet.
I gotta wait till
the garage is plenty big enough.
We got a garage, but I gotta wait till after Thanksgiving because
copy that.
These are a little stressed right, because we host it. So
stay in the basement, Marty. Stay in the basement from now till Christmas. You'll be just fine.
Well,
you guys will get along.
Yeah, I was told to clean the basement today.
You giving the guests the tour or what?
Oh, well, she just told me a few things I needed to do, so I'm gonna
Yep.
do it.
Honey-do list. That's right.
So
You know,
anyway,
and that
the expo is a big deal, and it was just something to bring everybody together in the area. And we got guys coming a long ways, like you guys, that are going to be here. So
well, I can tell you, man, we're honored to be a part of this thing. I love you set the example, brother. You really do, man, of serving others and giving back. You have done so much for obviously your local community, but for those of us that met you on the national side, I mean, I met you at Wilson Lake, when you, and I didn't know who you were from Adam. I just asked if I could look at your camper and if you wouldn't mind me asking you a couple questions because it was a cool setup. And you were like, come on in, dude. And so we started chatting at your table there. And I look you up when I get back to my camp and I'm like, holy crap, this dude, he's been around, man.
and I also felt sorry for you because your tent had been demolished by all the wind.
Oh, dude, that was a micro storm. I had the coolest little bachelor pad set up over there, and that storm said, "Yeah, no, we're just going to scruff that up a little bit."
Yeah,
but
that square drop it came in handy because I actually did the tent thing with my kids too. We went kayak fishing in different remote places, and we had those storms, and I just wanted a roof over my head, and so I bought that little square drop, and it was great for all the trips I took. But then I asked my wife, I said, Diane, come on, you got to go with me. This is so fun. She goes, I'm not getting in there if I can't stand up. So I bought a bigger camper. And so this summer, she's supposed to go with me a little bit. So
that's kind of the thing we've got too, is when we do end up purchasing a camper, the wife, she has certain amenities she wants to make sure she has. So to me, I'm like, yeah, man, she's been the one that's making this whole circus, function here. So we're going to take care of whatever she needs. So we're taking some time, but no, dude, we are so freaking stoked and ready to get out to this expo. This, like I said, I'm just crossing fingers that the weather that time of year, that I-80, that it holds up for us, that I can get out 76, because there's nothing out there. That's the only trick, is that when the wind gets going, if there is snow going, I've gotten stuck. We did my brother and I did an emergency. We ran out to Minnesota to grab a car for my sister, and then ran back, literally like a day turnaround. And on the way back, we got stuck and had to pull over in North Platte, just because the weather was just so bad. We could not keep going. So we camped there and got pizza and hung out there till the next day, till the plows could open up I-80 again.
Yeah. I've seen plenty of that out there. When I lived out there, it was some tough blizzards in that area.
For sure.
But it should be a good time. It should be a good time though. So
when you can't tell where the road ends and the grass begins and it's snowing and it's just blowing so hard, you're like, am I on the road?
Yeah.
That's when you really got to question
if
you're really doing the right thing or not.
Yeah, you're right. Been there, done that too. Yep.
Well, listen, Marty, I can't thank you enough, man. This has been super awesome. Folks at home, make sure if you are anywhere within a driving distance of this, get out to the Sportsman's Expo. It's great stuff, raising money for a lot of great causes in there. And if you love fishing, dude, February, break it up, right? If we live in the Midwest, that means if you're not a hard water, enthusiast, come on up here. Got fishing, got hunting, just anything else that's basically also chili. You can't go wrong with that, dude. Going around, sample some chili. Yeah. Fishing seminars, and you had some great speakers last year. I have a feeling you're going to have some good ones.
We got some good ones. Yeah, they're really good. The crappie one's going to be really good. The catfish guy's back. Stan Liberty, he's awesome. He actually is a big time rock star too, by the way.
Oh, nice.
They just got a record deal or something. But
all right,
Pasty Jenny is the name of their band, and he does concrete. He's a lead guitar in a band. And a professional catfisherman. I mean, that's amazing.
Wow, that's a potpourri of different things right there, isn't it?
And I met him.
Colors you get right there.
He is, and I met him in a bait shop one time, and we just kind of hit it off and been friends all these years. And every once in a while, I'll see him on a lake with his boat. And
that's awesome.
That's
awesome stuff. Yeah, and I love right where you're at with that is because you bring in the Iowa, Wisconsin, Missouri. You can grab Kansas, Nebraska. You bring everybody in, to that deal there. I had one last question, and I wanted to hit you with this just to get your opinion, because man, you've been around. You've been doing a lot of fishing, bass, specifically, and around the country. You've done this. Do you find, and I'm asking this on the heels now of you saying 1,500 out of 1,900 fish you've caught on this one bait, do you ever find that fish in a given area start to get conditioned to a certain type of presentation, or do you not buy into that? Do you think, nope, they don't, and away you go with it?
This is my thoughts based on listening to all kinds of other people and also my own personal fishing experiences, is that I do believe that bass can be conditioned to a certain presentation, but they do have a short memory. And there are, just like us, there's smarter bass and there's dumber bass.
Right.
And those smarter bass get big because they're just smarter. And the
Jim,
dumb bass, when you catch them, they have ripped up mouths. They just don't know when to stop biting.
Jim, he means there's Marty Bass and there's Gene Bass running around. I'm the one with the tore up mouth, by the way.
Yeah, I think they can get conditioned, because I have found that, I've used the same thing in the area or whatever. And pretty soon I'm like, I'm going to try this, and I might throw a jackhammer at them and some motion. Or I might throw a different color or something like that. But and I don't even know if I'm catching the same ones. I mean, there's all kinds of fish in there, so, but I think if you get like this minnow thing out in the deep water, I do think at some point they're going to get conditioned to that. And you've got to make them look as real as possible. The idea here is that if you can make your presentation look like prey that they want to eat, that's the key.
Right.
Conditioned or not. When I hook a bass, I'm like, yep, I tricked you, buddy. That's how I look at it. And sometimes you don't trick them. And, right. And a lot of times these ones that are getting conditioned, I found this, especially in the fall, because they've seen everything through the year, and in the fall, they'll grab it and like move with it, but they're not going to like inhale it. Like in the spring, they just inhale them, but they don't in the fall. That's why I miss so many fish in the fall, is because they're just like nipping at it and they're not really inhaling it, and they're not really moving that fast either. But that's just my 2 cents worth.
Nice.
So.
Well, that's awesome stuff, man. And like I said, you set the bar out there, and I'll tell you, you give a lot of us a lot of hope that to keep moving forward, keep digging at the goals. You are absolutely the definition of ambassador of kayak fishing, brother, and just in general, just being just a guy that just gives back around every corner, man. We thank you through and through, man, for everything you do for us out there, because you've certainly given us a platform, brother. I mean, by your efforts out there, you were key in that to give all of us a platform to run from.
Well, thank you. I never dreamed it'd be like this when I first started, but I did imagine. I thought, man, it'd be cool if there was like a national championship for this in kayaks. And then, I met Chad Hoover on the phone. I actually found him on a website or whatever back in the day, but this is like moons ago. But he was in the Navy, and he had this dream too. And there were silos happening around the country, and we just happened to be the silo in the Midwest, Nebraska. That I had no idea anybody else was doing anything. And Jim Salmons was out in California, and Dennis Spike, and then there was this Thompson guy down in Texas, and then Chad. And there was a couple other guys too. What's his name up in New York or Pennsylvania? Jeff Little. He was doing it. We all came in about the same time, but didn't know each other was doing it.
Yep.
Does that make sense? But we all have different stories, and I'm trying to get that together to tell the story through podcasts and so forth, and then write about it. That's kind of my next step before I die, hopefully.
Well, and that actually just reminded me. The one last thing I did want to highlight on here is you've done this for some years, but now we're starting to see it a lot more. You're doing articles like crazy, man. The Bassmaster's got you doing it, Wired to Fish. Where else are you being published right now, man?
I publish my own on Substack, and also I don't know if you guys go to my Kayak Jack Outdoors, you'll see links to it. I write the articles now, and there's a free subscription and there's a paid subscription. The paid is just, hey, I want to support you and support your efforts because I put a lot of time into it. But there is some juice in the paid part. In fact,
Nice.
this week I'm going to give a free shipping code for our website on there for the paid members. That's just one little perk, But
Nice.
I publish my own articles. I do give waypoints. I don't, on there. And I'm going to tell you, I have guys that are paid subscribers that are doing very well in fishing because they read those articles. And I've started doing more podcasts. Those are on there. But yeah, I love to write. I've always loved to write. When I was a coach, a football, basketball, track coach, I had to write my own articles for the paper. They didn't have the reporter questions. I wrote my own.
That's awesome.
And I also had an English teacher named Mrs. Barnes. She had bright red hair, out, fluffy and everything. And she was like 80 years old, and she had a big giant yardstick, and she'd slap my arms with it. Get to work, get to work. I sat in the front row, and I give all the credit to her for my writing ability.
That's awesome.
But anyway, I just love to write, and I spend time every day writing. And so
that is so cool.
Out. So that it's on my website, on the Facebook, and on my website as well. There's lots of content there. Wired to Fish. This is so. I know we're going along here. But this is so
okay.
cool. Pretty much the owner, the guy that ran Wired to Fish, Jason Seelock. When I moved to Auburn, his mom lived 2 blocks from me.
Oh my gosh!
You know how I found that out? I was in the hall. I was a principal. I was walking the halls, and this kid's putting up Wired to Fish decals in his locker. And I said, "Hey, where'd you get those, Noah?" His name was Noah. And he goes, "My uncle." And I'm going, "Who's your uncle?" He goes, "Oh, Jason Seelock." And so I looked him up. I go, "Oh, are you kidding me?" Anyway, we end up hooking up, and I'm down at Kentucky Lake freezing on a boat ramp one night, and Jason sees my post about it. Says, "Hey, tonight you can stay at my house." So I stayed at Jason's house at Kentucky Lake. Next morning, he gave me this giant box of lures to take home with me to give the kids.
Wow.
And use whatever, and so we've been friends ever since. And so Jason's kind of the one that said, "Hey," he came out here, did a photo shoot, and wanted some kayak pictures, and he saw some of my stuff, I guess. He said, "Hey, I need you to write some kayak articles based on your experience for me." And so I've been writing for them ever since.
That's awesome, man.
That's cool.
That is so cool.
And then Bassmaster, they do the top baits of the elites, right? And so I went up to the guys that write. I said, "Hey, why, since kayak fishing is part of this, why can't we do that for the kayak fishermen too?" And I said, "I'll even volunteer to do it for you." And so now I'm a paid employee.
That's awesome, man.
Well, now you can't fish their events because you're part of the organization. It says
Well,
it right
not really.
rules.
I'm not
Rule
that
7,
kind of
number 3.
I'm not that kind of paid employee. It's like after the fact. So
Right.
And it's not very much either. So it's just, you know what? It's just nice that they compensate you for the effort that you put into it. So that's why I started my own subscription service, because, I felt like if people want to support it, they can, but it's not about making a whole lot of money. It's about paying for what I'm doing, because it does cost money,
Yeah, do. Anything does nowadays, man. We can appreciate that from the TPO side for sure. Yeah. Well, this is awesome, man. Again, if for those of you who didn't know who he was, now you know. You got a better understanding. But yeah, follow along on Facebook at Kayak Jack Outdoors, Instagram, YouTube, anything else that you got going. When you start going hot and heavy, man, get with me and throw me some of the like your podcast address and all that kind of good stuff there. We'll do everything we can from our side just to help, cross post that stuff and promote the heck out of it for you, brother. We appreciate you. And that's one of those good
other thing. As far as events, Brady and I are going to get together on this, but we are having a paddle only tournament in Nebraska.
Oh, wow.
Paddle only, no entry fee.
Wow.
No entry fee.
I still wouldn't do it. But wow.
and the catch all you can, the father son event, the youth state championship, and the paddle only, and then the youth series on Monday. So we got several events.
That's awesome.
I try to time them so there's nothing else going on, and most of our stuff is free. In fact, to catch all you can, the only charge we're going to have is the Tourney X fees. There's no
That's so cool.
There are no entry fees in my tournaments this year. None.
That is so cool. With the right support, you could do some of that cool stuff, man.
Yeah. So that's kind of how I started. But back in the day, though, we had the entry fees for Heroes in the Water. We gave all the money to Heroes in the Water, and we gave away kayaks.
Yep.
To the winners.
That's so
and
cool.
So that, I just want to get back to the grassroots of things and then go from there. Then you can choose the level you want to go fish at. The idea
I love
is
that.
To have people come in, not feel intimidated. Hey, I got a paddle only tournament, so there's no excuse for you not to want to do this.
And that is a movement that needs to occur, because I see too much on the competitive side of the kayak trying to move in the direction that the boat world is, and trying to, well, the boats are doing this. Who cares? We are different than the boat world. Trust when I say the boat world is not doing that great. Okay. Those anglers over there they've got their own batch of things that they're dealing with. Mm-hmm. Celebrate the diversity, celebrate the differences in the kayak world, and accept, live in our own skin, man. I love that. So it's a good way to do that is to get back to the roots of where the sport came from for a while, like you said, and then you can kind of peel out from there and go as big and crazy as you want, or keep it nice and simple.
You bet. And then Matt Collins, yes, I will. We'll get that schedule out. I do have some dates picked up, and I'm waiting on the Bassmaster schedule to see what they're going to do.
Like you and a lot of other people, right?
And we got to give Steve some patience. Be patient with him, because he is working with a lot of Chamber of Commerces that meet once a month, and it's been very difficult this year with changeover and stuff like that. So that hopefully will be out, and then we'll know what the full schedule is for next year. I was going to tell you something else on that too, on the paddle. Oh, and it's no sonar as well.
Oh wow!
Oh,
nice.
Sonar,
paddle, no sonar.
Paddle only, and I haven't even chosen the lake yet, so I don't know it'll be interesting. And I'm going to try to choose a lake with a lot of timber and out of the wind a little bit,
Right.
So that makes it better for people.
It's got to be a kayak, or can you belly boat in that?
I think I'm gonna make it just kayak on that one.
Okay.
The other one though, the father, son, daughter one, that's gonna be anything. And in our league, that's anything too. We don't care on that one. But I think I'm gonna just make that the kayak one, because one year we did that. Oh, the Heroes in the Water thing. Yeah, we gave all that money to them, and then we gave it kayaks. But one year we did a bass pro shops one, and a guy came in like a little Pelican and won it out of a little Pelican kayak. Oh, I know what to tell you is oh yeah, well, sorry, Matt. You have to have some kind of instincts in this tournament to be successful.
He's got them. Trust me, he's got them just fine.
I met him. He's just, anyway. We've turned kayak fishing into an arms race, and
I don't like it.
That's not what it is. And you know what? I'm sucked into it as well, because if I want to get to a place on Kentucky Lake that's 5 miles away, the reason why I have a motor is, I know we're going long, but you know what? I listen to podcasts that are 3 hours long, guys. So
that's right. You're good. You're good.
So I'm at La Crosse 2 years ago, and I'm at the at the launch, and there's 10 of us there. 9 have motors, and I don't. And we're all going to go to the same area 45 minutes away. You have to go to this long point to get there, and against rapids, foot deep rapids, and they've got motors. Well, when we left, I was third and tied Jackson Orr. He had 14% left in his motor. I had felt like I just run a marathon. So, my focus, everything was, I had to really focus more, and I was tired. The guy that got there first actually saved me a little spot to get on there with. But I was like, okay, that's it. I'm getting a motor so that I can get there in a reasonable amount of time. And also it does save you in practice a little bit. But I hardly use it only on real big lakes, and also for a safety standpoint. If I'm far away somewhere, I can get back a little faster. And
fact is, if you're going to compete against the guys on the national scene, you're behind the 8 ball if you don't, I mean,
Yeah,
you just are. They can get there before you, you
Yeah.
know, in most cases.
But I am going to say this, and I'm on my soapbox about this. It is no longer kayak fishing; it's small mini boat fishing, bass fishing.
Right.
Right.
It
Right.
is.
Well,
And
here's what we can thank for all that, and this is just my opinion. We
yeah,
can thank the growth of the sport for that, and the
yeah,
passion
oh
that
yeah,
we have as anglers. You know, it's a good thing, but yet it's also a curse because the
yeah,
amount of money that we're fishing for now. What
yeah,
Garrett Morgan just won 25 grand.
yeah,
You know, I
yeah,
mean, there's
yeah,
all kinds of money involved, and
yeah,
sponsorships. We're taking it to the next level. In order to be that, you've got to have the biggest, best, and the
yeah,
highest technology to compete at the highest level.
yeah. And that's what
Do
I've
it for
done.
fun.
I've done that as well. I'm just saying though that for me, because I see the sport through a different lens.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
so I want those entry level guys to not be intimidated by that.
I love it.
Look, you can get into this with no money and a kayak and a paddle, a pole, and a couple lures, and you're right there ready to go. Then you can decide, oh, I want to get into this a little bit higher level. That's fine. I'm not against that at all. Don't get me wrong, because
Right.
I have all that
Right.
stuff. But I do want to give opportunities to people who they go to a tournament, they see all this stuff. They're like, I'm not coming back to that. I'm not even going to unload. I've seen guys go to a tournament and never even unload because they were so intimidated.
Yep.
They said, I'm not doing this. There's no way I can't.
I've seen guys do that in the boat world. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
get that.
I think it's a good way to do that. And for me, yeah, I'm doing this in Nebraska, but you know what? I also started kayak fishing in Nebraska and it exploded from there. I feel like in the Midwest, and to set the precedence for, let's have some of these more fun events for
Yep.
people and not charge them an arm and leg to get in,
That's awesome.
and go away with something from it. They have a chance to win a prize at a drawing or whatever. But the main thing though is they got to spend time in the water with people that have the same passion. That's all.
Exactly.
So
Well, you know, and that's really where it's at, man, is that I try to tell anybody that's new coming in is that don't make fishing at the national level your goal right away.
Mhm.
You know, until you get a chance to, one of the cool things with so many other, you know, clubs and options out there, maybe tournament fishing isn't even what you want to do.
Right.
Just get out on the water and go have fun.
Mhm.
You know what? And if you do have a competitive side to you that enjoys to compete, the options are out there all over the place.
Yeah. Oh,
Stony Floyd is he made a choice that I love seeing what he's doing. He's going to be choosing to go over and fish the Tennessee Bass Series over there.
Mhm.
That's going to be 6 to 8 hour run for him to get over there from Kansas City.
Mhm.
That is so cool, man. And it's like just another, you know, local. I would love to get, you know, hit a couple Moyak events myself. I would love to get over there just because I love the Ozarks and I love the people down there. So, yeah, it's cool when you can do that, but there's a price tag that comes with that travel that
Oh, yeah.
not everybody, you know, it can really burn you if you're not ready for it type
Oh,
thing.
yeah. Yeah. Like right now, I'm like, oh, I got to figure out a way to stay warm tomorrow.
Right.
I'm like, I don't want to go out. I just, want to enjoy Thanksgiving a
Right.
little bit, but
I
Right.
hear you.
oh yeah, I'm going to fish your events. I think this year, a few of them this year, and working on a teammate. We'll see how that goes, but
That's exciting. Love to see you there, man.
hopefully that all works out, that I can do that. Right now it's okay. I mean, it's because I don't know what I'm going to do as far as national this year. I'm going to kind of take a step back for this year, because I qualified, and then I'm going to try to qualify through a Bass Nation event. I think if that's
Yep.
if that works out. So, but anyway, yeah. So there you
You're
go.
always welcome
Cool
with the
stuff.
CKB. You're welcome to come out here and fish with us at any time. If you
Thanks.
ever have the urge to come out and decide to try to fish Colorado, or if you've been here or haven't, I dare you to come out. You'll have a great time.
I actually want to go to Pueblo. I actually do.
Yes.
Want to do that. And the reason for this is that, guys, get out and challenge yourself.
Yep.
I get, like, I fish so many events here. It's like I'm almost burned out on the same thing all the time. And yeah,
Yep.
they do pick a few different lakes, but like the Sticks came out with a great schedule this year, and I enjoyed
they
it
did.
as well. But they've got smaller lakes, but yet I just love the schedule. So I'm going to hopefully get most of them as well. this year, and then I thought I'd hit a few of yours, and see how
Talk,
they go. And I am
talk about a group of hooks too. The sticks, those
Oh, yeah,
guys. That's
yeah.
some top anglers in there.
Yeah. Yeah, I was fortunate to get that this year. That the angler of the year on that one. That was things just kind of fell in, into my favorite a couple times. But it's about consistency too, though, when you're in that. And then I'm going to hit one of Drew's events, the one in St. Cloud, Minnesota, the
Very cool.
adventure series. I want to go to that one as well. It's only 7 hours from here, so I thought, well, I'll give it a try.
We like some Drew Gregory.
Nice.
He's an awesome dude. I was I was fortunate enough to be the first person to interview him when he got off the stage there and he got back to the back media area at the national championship. I got a chance to interview him there, and he's what a good dude. Just a genuine kayaker.
Yeah.
And that's good to see that people that are as real as you think they are. Yep, he is.
Yeah, he's keeping the kayak thing kind of authentic like it was, with that. Now you can still use the motor. In fact, I'm rigging up a kayak kind of for that event, that type of event
Nice.
for this year. But he's a river rat, man.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah. And kind of cool.
Awesome stuff. Well, listen, brother, thank you so much. Folks, go check him out. Kayak Jack Outdoors. All kinds of good stuff going on there. Hit up Marty and check out all the cool stuff he's got going out there. Marty, we can't thank you enough, brother. Thank you for taking the time here during this Thanksgiving weekend and chatting with us.
You bet. Message me anytime, guys, or text or whatever, and we're glad to help you out. Anybody out there. So.
Well, and we should probably try to make this a little bit more common where we reach out to you and get you on the show. And also leading up to this Sportsman's Expo, we should have you on a couple more times. We'll talk a little bit more about that as it's starting to unfold.
Yeah,
awesome.
That'd be good. Yeah. So,
all right.
I'm starting to feel tired.
For all you do, Marty.
Starting to feel tired?
Yeah. Thank you, James. You guys are great dudes, man, and your whole club. I met a couple more guys down there at
Nice.
Eco 250 thing, and what a cool thing to have guys drive that far to fish that event. And that's going to grow too. I don't keep us any longer, but I know that there's so many good things, guys. Focus on the good.
Yep.
Focus on what you love to do. And don't worry about all that little stuff out there, man. It's just people.
Agreed.
It's in every facet of life. People are going to try to be critical and stuff. Oh, by the way, speaking one more thing, you were talking about like filtering out the stuff that you find real and fake, on the news.
Yep.
And all that. We need to teach our kids how to critically think.
Thank you, Marty. Yes.
If that bottom line, teach people how to critically think and not fall for that's why we have so many scams out there. Just teach. I was an educator, still am. I'm in schools and I still, don't take that headline for what it's worth. You need to research it and find out what's behind it. When they say, because the media, they're great in most respects, but they tend to draw you into things that are really not true. That the headline is misleading to what the article really is.
Yep.
So it's like clickbait, So
critical thinking, look it up. Yes, that is a strong thing to have.
Yeah,
for sure.
All right.
Well, that's a great segue there. Well, thank you, gentlemen, both.
Yeah. Hour,
you guys
that's a record. Yes.
Close. I've actually had a couple of combat Marines that kept us almost 2 hours one night.
Right. I thank you for all you guys are doing for them too, man.
Yes, sir.
I grew up military bases till I was 16, and I saw a lot of stuff, and I wanted to do it, but I just felt called to the education, so that's what I did. But I still have so much respect for the military. One of my roommates in college, Colonel Tom Brewer, eight what do you call it? 8 trips to Afghanistan.
Jiminy Christmas.
And he got shot up pretty good one time, but he came out pretty good from it, and he has done a lot for our country.
Absolutely.
So,
wow, God bless him.
Serving those that serve, man. That's the mantra. That's what we do.
Yeah.
All right, folks. All right. Thank you guys so very much. Folks at home, if you're watching live, thank you very much for sticking with us through this whole thing here. And if you're listening on any of the major audio platforms, we thank you as well. Don't forget, smash that subscribe button on YouTube. That's the big push we're looking for. Boys, till next time, thank you both.
Yep, you betcha, man.
Thank you. We'll see you.
Take care.
Tight lines, folks. Be safe.